Now, here are some of the keywords and phrases that, phrases and sentences that stood out during the Donald Trump speech. Now, welcome. This is Knowledge Quest Lighthouse, and thank you so much for joining us again in another video. Now, the first word that stood out during President Donald Trump's speech is flourish. And as soon as he began his speech, he used the word flourish. Now, what does the word flourish mean? Now, flourish can be a verb and it can also be a noun, which means to grow and be able to develop well. That is the meaning of the word flourish. Now, the second thing that stood out. Now, I've made up a list or compilation of about 20 words, phrases, and sentences that stood out. The second one was scales of justice. Now, what does scales of justice mean? Scales of justice simply means the fairness of a legal system, simply putting together the balance and fairness of a legal system. And if it comes up in theme, it can be imagery. For example, in poetry, it can be imagery and a metaphor that discusses that is able to discuss the theme of fairness and balance. So when you talk about scales of justice, it can come up as a theme in poetry. It can also come up as a style in poetry, which is imagery, a metaphor that gives us a description or gives us a being able to discuss a theme of fairness, balance, inclusivity, equity, and all those. The third word that stood out in the interview was sovereignty. And what does sovereignty mean? This one simply means the power to govern oneself, or we could call it self-governance or control over a particular territory. Number 4 was vicious. What does vicious mean? Vicious came out very strongly during his interview. Vicious, what does it mean? Vicious is cruel or violent, or we could say someone or something being dangerously aggressive. Cruel or violent, or someone or something being dangerously aggressive. Now, there was another phrase or sentence that Donald used, and that is proud, prosperous, and free. What do you get from that phrase or sentence? Proud, prosperous, and free. First of all, we have a style there of alliteration, and alliteration is simply the repetition of consonant sounds, and the consonant sound P is being repeated. So from that we find alliteration, the repetition of that consonant sound P. And also we have another style in poetry that we call parallelism, that is also coming out from proud, prosperous, and free. All of them, parallelism is simply the repetition of a certain structure that is being repeated from the beginning to the end. And here we find the repetition, and mostly the repetition is done to create a rhythm. And from the repetition of proud, prosperous, and free, we have repetition of adjectives. Proud is an adjective, prosperous is an adjective, free is an adjective, and that is a particular style that we call parallelism. Looking at another one was thrilling. Thrilling came out as a word and very strongly used by the president. And what does thrilling mean? Thrilling is simply a strong feeling of excitement. When someone has a strong feeling of excitement, we can say they are thrilled, or it comes out as thrilling, as a strong feeling of excitement. Now, what are some of the synonyms of the word thrilling, words that you could use in place of thrilling? And we have the magic triple E words, where we have exciting, we have electrifying, and we have exhilarating. You can use those words in place of, instead of saying thrilling, you could say exciting. Instead, you could say electrifying. Instead, you could also say exhilarating. And those are synonyms of the word thrilling. So thrilling is simply a strong feeling of excitement that comes out. We had another sentence here, and that was sunlight pouring over the world. Sunlight pouring over the world. Now, first of all, that is poetic. That line is very poetic. Sunlight pouring over the world. Sunlight pouring over the world could mean a new day. It could mean a new beginning. It could also mean a new dawn. And if we look at poetry and styles in poetry, we find a style there called personification, where personification is giving animals or things human qualities or human traits. And for example, here we are giving the sunlight human traits or characteristics when we say that the sunlight was pouring over the world. That could also mean, that sentence could also mean abundance. It could also mean generosity. It could mean the beauty and connection that is overflowing in a place. So sunlight pouring over the world is poetic. We could say styles like personification have been used there, where sunlight is being given human features or human characteristics to describe the pouring of love or affection, maybe. Another word that or phrase that came through very, and that is number 8, is raging through. Raging through. What does raging through mean? Raging through. Raging through is a sense of intense, uncontrollable force that is going through something. So when he says raging through, what does it mean? A sense of intense or uncontrollable force that is going through something. And what are some of the things or words or phrases that we could use instead of saying raging through? We could say tearing through, we could say surging through, we could say breaking through, we could say sweeping through, we could say storming through. So instead of just being boring and repeating the same and saying something was raging through, you could say sweeping through, you could say tearing through, you could say surging through, you could say storming through. All those mean the same thing. Now, we also had another sentence that was saying giving people back faith, wealth, democracy, and freedom. Here we also find the same style that we've looked at before, parallelism, which is this repetition of similar grammatical forms that is just created to bring rhythm. For example, repetition of now faith, wealth, democracy, and freedom just brings in the rhythm or the flow of words. That could also be used to bring an emotional appeal. When you repeat those words, that also creates a sense of emotional appeal, balance, or sense of completeness. When you have to say, giving people back their faith, wealth, democracy, and freedom. It appeals to the audience, appeals to the emotion of the audience, creates a sense of completeness, balance, and formation. Now, what number 10 is America decline is over. What does that statement mean? That statement just simply means America is bringing back its unique ability to rule over nations, or the negativity is now gone. When we say America decline is finally over, it means the negativity is finally all over. America is bringing back its glory. It's bringing back its discovery, its exploration in terms of very many things. Number 11 was bullet ripped through my ear. And all of us saw when that happened to the now president of the United States, when he said the bullet ripped through my ear. What does that mean? When, first of all, when we talk about ripping, we were talking about a sense of sudden, something that happens suddenly with intense action and pain, something that just comes in suddenly. So the bullet ripping through is an action that happened suddenly to the president of the United States of America. It also brings a sense of sensation when we use the word ripped. But we could also use other words. Instead of saying bullet ripped through the ear, we could say the bullet ravaged through the ear. We could say the bullet slashed through the ear. We could say the bullet pierced through the ear. We could say the bullet gashed through the ear. So that is just a feeling of sudden action that comes abruptly, sudden, and has pain in it. The next word or phrase that we look at, number 12, is tremendous outpouring of love. The good president used that tremendous outpouring of love. When we talk about tremendous outpouring of love, that is just an overwhelming display of love. And when we look at the word tremendous in itself means huge, something that is huge in size. When you look at the word outpouring is now the action of being poured. When we look at love is a deep affection. So when someone says tremendous outpouring of love, it's simply an overwhelming display of love, care, and affection that comes out very, very powerfully. In a sentence, you could say, the moment I released this video, there was a tremendous outpouring of love, and there were very many subscribers that came through, and very many views, and very many likes, very many comments. That's just an example in a sentence. Number 13 is liquid gold under our feet. When the president said there is liquid gold under their feet, does it mean that there is some form of liquid that is under their feet that they could not recognize? No, liquid gold under their feet is just a metaphorical expression that is building a vivid image of something that is valuable, something that is precious. So when the president says liquid gold under our feet, it just means there's a hidden treasure, hidden wealth, hidden resource, something so much valuable, something so much precious that is hidden under their feet. Talking in terms of opportunity, in terms of potential, something that could actually make them great again, or make America a nation worth of envy. Now, in liquid gold under our feet, we also find symbolism, where gold is being used as a symbol of wealth. If that statement comes in poetry, you could say gold has been used symbolically to just mean a symbol of wealth. Now, number 14 is immense power of the state. When we talk about immense power of the state, we're simply saying the authority, the control, the overwhelming authority and influence that the state has. And that is just that. When you talk about word number 15, reinstate, and he used it very powerfully. Reinstate. What does reinstate mean? Reinstate just means to restore something to its previous position, or bring back people to their previous position that maybe they were bantered out or chased away. So instead just means bringing back or restoring something to its previous position. We have other synonyms. Instead of saying reinstate, you could say restore, you could say reestablish, you could say reinvent, you could say reintroduce. Just that. Then number 16 is sole mission. The president said something like the sole mission. It is our sole mission. What does that mean? That one simply means the primary goal, the primary objective, or the only mission. What they are just about to do, the singular focus. Instead of that, instead of even sole mission, you could say singular focus. You could say the primary goal. You could say the primary objective, only mission. Those ones come in as synonyms of sole mission. Number 17 is when the president talked something or mentioned something about hostages. What does hostages mean? What does hostages mean? From the word host, what does it mean? You could say hostages are people that are being, for those who watch most of these Nigerian films or any other film movies, when we talk about hostages, we simply mean people that are held for leverage. And what do we mean by people that are held for leverage? This is a moment where we have someone that is being held, and for them to be released, someone is being coerced into doing something before they are released. So they are being held hostage. That's what most of the statements say. We could call them prisoners, we could call them detainees, we could call them captives, we could call them victims of something. So when someone is held hostage, it means that they're being held for leverage, and something is being should be done for them to be able to be released. Number 18 is ambition is the lifeblood of a great nation. The president mentioned that ambition is the lifeblood of a great nation. Ambition is the lifeblood of a great nation. What does that mean? That one simply encompasses us and gives us the importance of ambition, the very importance of ambition. And we can also say that lifeblood has been used as imagery. For example, in poetry, when you use lifeblood, it means that it is symbolizing something like the sustaining of life or the sustaining of something for a period of time. So the president says ambition is the lifeblood of a great nation. We are simply looking at a statement that is poetic. For example, we also have personification coming through there, and personification is coming in through the word ambition. When we say ambition is the lifeblood of a great nation, we are giving ambition human traits. When talk of lifeblood, we are giving ambition human traits. So personification, imagery comes in so much strongly in that statement. Statement number 19 is the spirit of frontiers is writing in our hearts. Instead of just saying we are going to win, you could say the spirit of frontiers. Frontiers comes from the word front. The spirit of frontiers is writing in our hearts. That is an innate drive to overcome, an innate drive to explore, drive to do better, drive to become the best, drive to become great again. A call of action that the president is calling that America starts re-energizing, rebuilding, to create themselves again, to build themselves again, to be great again. So when he says the spirit of frontiers is writing in our hearts, that simply means the spirit of greatness, the spirit of starting over, the spirit of exploration is written all over their hearts. We also have personification there, as we've mentioned. Now, the last statement, which came out very boldly, very strongly, and the use of adverbs was actually put into trial. And we had this statement that our president says, we will stand bravely, live proudly, dream boldly. We can actually see three adverbs there that are following each other. And when we look at bravely, when we look at proudly, when we look at boldly, those are adverbs that are following each other. And that style in poetry of the words that are closely formed being rearranged to create a rhythm, we could still call it parallelism. That is coming out so well. Alliteration, also the repetition of consonant sounds, where we have consonant sounds being repeated between proudly, boldly, and bravely. So that also shows when the president says that, he shows a sense of winning, a sense of determination, a sense of confidence, a sense of forward thinking that he is bringing through, and a leader that is actually giving a nation hope that they can do better, they can be better, they can become better through everything that he had just mentioned. And that's why he said, we will stand bravely, live proudly, and dream boldly. That is just part of the statements, the 20 key statements that came out from the president's speech. And here from Knowledge Quest Lighthouse, we wish the president nothing but the very best. We wish America nothing but the very best. And may they, as they say, be great again. That has been Knowledge Quest Lighthouse. See you in the next.
Thank you. God bless America. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.